Hello, English 110 students. It's me, your instructor, Rebecca Warfield, and this video is going to go over Module 2. If you have any questions about Canvas or how to operate each module, you can go back into Module 1 and review that video, or you can always contact TAC or use the Canvas support resources for questions about Canvas. Otherwise, we can go right into Module 2. And I will preface that this is going to look a little bit different than what you will see because I haven't published this or made it available yet. So if I switch over to student view, you won't be able to see it. So we're going to look at it through my instructor view, but in any case, it might look slightly different on your end, but it's still the same information. So without further ado, let's get in here. So Module 2, if you go into the first page, it will just give you a little bit information about when the module will open. Please make sure that you look at the date on your screen, not on this video, because it might change. So when the modules open is really when you're expected to log in. I do hope that you're logging in on the opening day to make sure you know what's happening for the rest of the week. Ideally, you don't wait until Wednesday or Thursday to look at the module for the first time. So then you can click next, and this will take you into the Module 2 video. If you're watching this, you've already gotten to this part. Congratulations. So you can watch the video thoroughly, and that will be the end of this part of Module 2, not too hard. That takes us into the overview where it has all of the dates and deadlines for everything for this week. So please make sure, again, that you're looking at the dates on your screen, not on this video, because they might differ. And do mark your personal calendars or put them into your phone, whatever it is that you do to make sure you are staying on time and meeting all the deadlines for the class. Module 2 objectives, I'll let you look at these on your own time. And the Module 2 to-do list. So for this module, you will have the readings listed for Module 2, you will have a Module 2 discussion board, and the module assignment. So here we have the readings. You can read through this at your own time. I do want to note that you have your readings here from your textbook, and then there's also a little bit of information here too. So these are your readings about genre. And then these are your primary texts. So when I have this broken up, really what this means is this is more informative reading here that's going to teach you a little bit more about how to think about literature, how to analyze literature, how to talk about literature. And then here, these are the actual texts that you will be reading. So we have the genre readings, and then we have the primary texts. So in this case, we have both this module. Most modules, we will have a little bit of informative reading and primary text reading. Just make sure you're looking thoroughly at what's expected. Also, anywhere that you see these blue lines, I'm sure you already know this, but these are links. They are not to be ignored. These are designed to supplement all of this stuff with more information. And in this case, you do need to use this link as part of your primary reading. Down here, there's a Prezi that has some information about literary devices. And then here, there's a document about close reading that I'll open up for you just for a moment. It is worth your while to read through this. And you'll note here, this is for a different course. An instructor a few semesters ago gave this to me to use for all of my courses because it doesn't really matter what English course you're in. This information remains true. And what this document is, it's just information on how do we read closely. Because when we read for a literature class, we're not just reading to read a story. We're reading to get into a little deeper analysis about what things mean. And we do that by looking closely at not just the story, but the craft of the story too, types of language used, and beyond. So it is worth your while to look at this because it also has information about how do I begin writing a paper, how do I come up with a thesis, what does an introduction do? How do I actually write the paper? What's MLA again? And some mistakes that folks make when they're writing for literature. So there's a lot of information here, but really it is worth your while to read through this. It's kind of long. This is something that you might want to print and keep out with you for the remainder of the semester because it will give you a lot of good information to use. In any case, so these are your readings for the week, and then we'll scoot over to next, and that gets us into our discussion board. So in Module 1, I talked about how to use the discussion board, but since we're all new to Canvas, I'll show you once again. So you read through this discussion. Remember, you have your original response, and then you also have to respond to two people. Make sure you are familiar with the rubric for the discussion boards, because if your responses, your original post or your responses are short or not meeting the requirements, you will lose points. So you want to make sure that you're not losing points for silly stuff like that. So you'll read through the discussion board here, and you can find the rubric at this link here. Also, just to back up for 1 second, if you ever need to access the rubric and you're not in the discussion board, or maybe the link isn't working or something like that, the discussion board rubric is always right here. So you can read through the rubric in the course documents folder too. But let's back up for a second. Sorry, let's get back into module 2. So to respond to the discussion board in module 2, you'll just click reply. You'll type in your stuff here, and then you will hit post reply. And then to respond to a classmate, you'll hit this little reply here. And you're done. That's it. So it's pretty easy to manage. If you do have any questions about using Canvas, if the technology is not working or you don't know how to use the discussion board, I added a link here for you. This will take you to the Canvas guides, and it'll give you the information for 24-hour, 7-day-a-week phone and chat support for Canvas. So that's pretty helpful. That's a nice service that we have. And then we'll go down to our Module 2 assignment, and this will be the last step for the week. So we'll look at this together. I do want to note here, it says, please note that this assignment is a little longer than our future assignments, and this is because it sets the stage for literary discourse moving forward. So some feedback that I got in the last few semesters is that my students weren't prepared for how long this assignment would take. So if you're watching this video on Monday, as I hope that you are, by the end of the week, you should be finished this. You can do it in bits and pieces. And I do understand that it's kind of long, but if we don't get a grasp of these literary devices now, the rest of the semester is going to A, not make any sense, and the work's not going to be great because it's really building upon this foundation. So let's go in here to the literary devices worksheet. It'll open up in a different window. At least it does on my computer. And then we wait. Here we go. When we look at a text, we are seeking to understand more than just the storyline. That kind of goes back to that close reading document that I have linked for you. Rather, we are exploring the design, structure, and elements that create deeper meaning. In other words, we look at the parts to understand the whole. As such, we may find that there is more than the surface of the story. There are undercurrents of meaning that can only be discovered by looking beyond and analyzing the text. And once we discover these undercurrents, we can create an analysis or argument about the text. But the only way we can prove our analysis is through, well, proof. As such, the purpose of this assignment has multiple purposes. First, it will assist you in better understanding literary devices. Secondly, it is designed to get you thinking about how to create an argument about the text. And lastly, it will underscore the importance of always providing evidence to support your claims. So this is really important because we have to know what the literary devices are. Then we have to know how to use those literary devices to create an argument. And when I say argument, I don't mean he said, she said. It's more of your stance on something. And then it's always important, and I'm going to say this a million times this semester, to provide evidence to support your claims. So this really is a three-pronged assignment. Please fill out the sheet below to explain how each literary device is used and a supporting quote for our recently read/watched texts. This is an important little sidebar here, is that a text isn't just something that is ink on paper. A text is anything that can be analyzed, that we can create argument about. And so that's kind of cool because that means that what we learn in literary analysis through reading pieces of literature can then be applied to things like TV shows and movies and magazines and podcasts and all sorts of other texts that we interact with in our lives. I mean, I think that's cool, but I mean, maybe I'm just a nerd. You should frame your explanation about the literary device as a full sentence that includes the literary device used, please highlight that in yellow, and your argument, please highlight this in blue. This is just to help me see what you're doing and sort of what means what, so I don't have to sift through a whole lot of stuff to figure it out. It just makes it very clear for me to see. In other words, this isn't just about noting that the literary device is used. Instead, it suggests how it is used and what that does to create meaning. And this is really, really important in literary analysis. It's not saying like, oh, the author did this. It's saying, hey, the author did this and this is why. Or the author used this device and this is how it changes the meaning of the text. I always think about those little toys when we're kids. I don't know what they're called, but that has like a little square hole and it fits the square block, and the little triangle hole and it fits the triangle block. That's step one. We put the right literary device in the right place. So sure, we can put the triangle in the triangle hole and we can put the square block in the square block hole, but that's not enough, right? It has to move beyond that. So what does it do for the piece of literature? What does it do for the reader? So we'll keep talking about that this semester. That's sort of the hang up often for a lot of students, is moving beyond that sort of basic fitting the block into the same shape hole, moving into this area of like, yes, these things fit, but what does that mean? You'll get plenty of practice. Don't you worry. You are welcome to reference the subcategories of the listed literary devices. You'll see that in the readings, let's say, for example, under plot, there's other sub-device or subcategories of that device. You're welcome to reference those. And I've done the first one as an example for you. So I have these listed by the literary device: plot, narration, point of view, character, setting, symbol, figurative language, And then I also have all the text that you'll need to reference. So you have the Yellow Wallpaper, Story of an Hour, Stiff, and Grey's Anatomy. You will need to answer for all 4 of them. There's always 1 or 2 students who think they just have to pick one. You need to do all 4 because the point is to show you how these literary devices can be used in different texts and create a different outcome. But anyway, let's look at my example. So I just did the Yellow Wallpaper for plot, just to give you a sense of what I'm looking for. So plot, the explanation. By the end of the story, the narrator's internal conflict about being free versus staying in the room exemplifies her mental deterioration. So here I have the literary device used is internal conflict. And then my argument is that it exemplifies her mental deterioration. So this shows that I understand that internal conflict is part of the plot. And then I'm moving beyond that. I'm not just saying that it's that internal conflict is showing that things are falling apart for her. And then a quote. So this is from the text. Quote, I am getting angry enough to do something desperate. To jump out of the window would be admirable exercise, but the bars are too strong even to try. Besides, I wouldn't do it. I don't want to go outside. I won't even if Jenny asks me to. For outside, you have to creep on the ground and everything is green instead of yellow. And so what this quote does, it supports this claim. So by the end of the story, the narrator's internal conflict about being free versus staying in the room exemplifies her mental deterioration. For example, quote. Right? So these work together, and I'm not asking you to put these into a formal paragraph, but if I were writing an essay, I could use this as my topic sentence, and I could use this as my evidence in a full paragraph. So this is just an example of what I'm looking for. Everyone will have different answers, and that's okay because we don't all read the same story the same way. As readers, we bring our own experiences to the table, things that we've experienced in our lives, things that we've experienced professionally, experiences we've had with other pieces of literature. We all approach the text with our own personal lives. And so that means we understand things differently. So don't worry if you think it's right or wrong. It's really a matter of just showing that you understand this literary device and that you're able to make a claim and support it. Your explanation, or another word for this could be claim, will probably be different than someone else's, and that is okay. That's kind of what I like about literature, is that things don't always have to be the same among different readers. For some people, that's what they hate. So either way, our job is to embrace it and do the best we can. So once you're finished with that, you'll go back into Canvas, and then you can, I don't have it here because I'm in the student view, but there will be a submission box here. You'll click that and you can just attach the worksheet. So with that in mind, maybe I should back up for 1 second. You can fill out everything on this worksheet. So fill your answer here. save this as a Word document or a PDF, and then you can submit it through Canvas. And then that is it for Module 2. If you have questions, you can email me at warfieldr@uncw.edu, and I'm looking forward to reading your work. Have a wonderful day. Bye.